I think it also, and I heard a guy on YouTube once say this, and I thought it really stuck up for me. As a young fellow who built up his big business only to see it just taken away from him and gone. And he says, when you don't need other people, it really reveals to you who you are.
It's Radio Australia, the greater world, and of course in the background you can hear nothing but the shaved monkey himself doing his best impression of an orangutan. I've got Derek to my left. Eric, let's talk about if you had $1 billion.
Aaron, before you get into that,
please.
So you're saying that I'm an orangutan. I can't be because they're redheads. Redheads don't have a soul.
Hence why I know you're a redhead. Now, Loanne talks. I don't know.
She talks with her hand.
There you go. All right, mate. Look, we've thrown this around a bit before, right? Okay, talking about, what kind of person you are with or without money, whatever.
All right, Travie McCoy.
Let's go to subject.
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of people have this notion that if I just had $1 million, all my problems would be solved.
Oh, hell no.
Right? If I just had whatever that number might be for someone. And let's amplify it a little bit. Let's say if you were a billionaire, or maybe just 100 million or whatever, or 10 million or whatever it might be, whatever your number is. My question is, do you actually think you would be a better or worse person for it?
Okay.
Oh, I'd be a prick because I could pay for the lawyers.
You and Clive get together. Look, I think.
Sorry, that's just really funny because when I did the 2022 2019 federal election, I ran for the seat of Brand, so obviously One Nation, and everyone gets trolls on their page, and there's this one guy I had to keep him. He was so funny. I did a video about how Mark McGowan stole Clive Palmer's personal rights when he did the Mineralogy Amendments Act. So go have a read of it. It's quite funny. So the first comment when I put the post out, he goes, "Oh, look at this. It's the love child between Clive Palmer and Pauline Hanson." And I thought, oh my God, that is so funny. So yeah, anyway, moving on.
Oh, please do move on. All right, now. All right, well, okay. I'm going to throw the question to you, Derek. Would you be, let's come up with a figure. Let's just, you know what, I don't want to be too generous. If you had $10 million, are you a better man or a worse man?
Gosh, it's hard to be objective about yourself, isn't it?
Is,
I would hope that I'd be a better man. I really do that. And I think what it does...
Good song, that one, A Better Man.
It is. On you, Robbie. Now...
well, that's actually a really good point, right? How many rock stars have become extreme in their behaviour?
Yep.
The more fame, the more wealth they actually get.
I think that's got a lot to do with the way that people treat them, right? They just live in this bubble. We've just seen, obviously, what's gone on with John Farnham in the last week or so with The Voice, basically selling out. Okay, and I think. What else? Here's my point on this.
Does he need the money? Yes,
he does.
His health hasn't been good.
No, his health has not been good, and obviously he's looking at his financial legacy. I get that, but I still think he's a sellout. But I think that, I thought about it differently. I thought to myself, hang on, right, since, for about 55 years, he has been basically surrounded by people who just tell him constantly how wonderful he is, right? Apart from a period in the 70s where things got a bit grey for him, and probably into the early 80s, I guess, well, until Whispering Jack in 86, he went through a period where he'd fallen out of the social culture of Australia, right, to an extent. But he was still surrounded by people who were constantly talking him up, right? Now, this does something to your head, and I can speak from personal experience because I've been there, fortunately, I've been in that world where I got myself in this little world where everyone around me constantly told me how wonderful I was, right, because of what I was doing. It screws with your head, and you start to believe that advertising. Now, with him, he's been in that world, and I was very lucky because I had people who just basically would smack me in the back of the head and wake me up.
So your mum?
My mum.
Spot on. Family are very good for that.
Mum just brought me back to earth, right? And I love her to bits for it. So where I'm going on this is with him, he's had about 50, apart from a bit of a lull in the middle, he had about 55 years of just being told he was God's gift, right? And that makes people change, and it does change their personality, and it also changes their ability to be objective, quite frankly. And I tend to think he's had so long of being in that fishbowl, of being told he's so wonderful by these people, that he has lost complete grip of what's going on and what's the reality of the world.
Do you know John Farnham personally?
No, I don't.
No, I don't either. So I don't want to judge the man. I hear what you're saying.
I will.
I remember. Okay, fair enough. I remember doing an interview years ago in radio with a guy called. Here we go. Anyway, he was one of the lead singers of a band called Newsboys. I don't assume that you know the Newsboys.
No, I actually do know Newsboys,
okay.
yes.
He had actually got to the point. I did this interview where he had walked away from the band.
Right.
Left it. They were at the pinnacle. They'd finally gotten a really good album. They were great live, but they couldn't put an studio album together to save their lives.
Yep.
They were all terrible. They finally produced this really good album. He's at the peak of what the game should be, and he leaves the band. And so I asked him, why? What happened? He says, you want to know the truth? And he says, it was the night I got home to my mansion in the US, and there was a note on the desk from my wife that said, I've taken the baby, we're gone, we've left. And that was his wake-up point. And I'll echo some of what you said. He said that man was never meant to be exalted. That was his line. Man was never meant to be exalted. So you hear this whole thing of rock idol. It just messes with your head, he said. All the fame and that. I think it also, and I heard a guy on YouTube once say this, and I thought it really stuck up for me. As a young fellow who built up his big business only to see it just taken away from him and gone. And he says, when you don't need other people, it really reveals to you who you are.
Okay.
And I thought that was a really, really profound line.
Absolutely.
I thought, that is good. And this guy's in his 20s, and I thought, take note of that. It's such a great gem.
Left alone with your own personality. It's going to be an interesting little test.
Yeah.
I think... So I know Aaron falls into this category. You're kind of similar as well. Because I know some of your backstory you've told us in other conversations. I think if a person has never had to have their backs truly to the wall, so I'm talking about to lose a house, pretty much lost everything. So they understand the value of the money. Yes, I've got a lot of it, but they understand how quickly it can go.
Yep.
So I think people who have gone bankrupt, gone through a divorce where they lost everything, fires, natural disasters, things like that, they understand the importance of it.
Absolutely.
So people like that, you can all of a sudden slap $10 million into their bank account.
Yep.
They won't fundamentally change. So they'll go buy a nice car, possibly a house, set the kids up and stuff like that. But they'll do majority smart things. Where if someone's just been working 9 to 5, just making ends meet, then let's say they win lotto, and all of a sudden they're a millionaire. They're the ones that are going to be at the biggest risk because they don't understand the concept or the consequences of the money.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it's going to come down to the individual. So we had 2 big events. So first of all was my motorbike accident where I wasn't able to work for 8 years. And what's going on with the education department with Milan. So we've lost both our main sources of income.
Sure.
So it gets really eye-opening. Like, I think I was lucky enough when I had my motorbike accident, I did have life insurance, so I did get covered for 2 years on a partial income. So at that point, we made the decision, we've got to sell everything, we've got to clear off all our debts, we've got to get ourselves ready that if shit does hit the fan, we can actually survive with nothing.
Yep. And
so that was a conscious decision I made. So if you were to slap, say, myself, $10 million, I think I'd be fine. I'd probably take 9.9 million of it and put it into investments and go buy 2 cars that would be reliable and won't break down. So probably a genuine, like, say, actually, I wouldn't buy a car. I'd actually probably spend about $20,000 on the Hilux to make it reliable because I just love the old beast. And would get rid of Luan's car because I hate it with a passion. That's the one that's in the car park at the moment because the Hilux isn't running. And then would buy her something reliable as well. And that would be it.
Okay,
so you got yourself established.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do with it, though?
Well, I'm going to butt in on that one, and which is related to what you're saying. But both of you have kind of just talked about what you do financially. You're talking about investments. I'm not going to carry on, right?
I wouldn't tell anyone.
I care more about what it's going to do to you as a human being. Like, what personality traits is it going to amplify? Which ones is it going to make retreat? That's what I care about because I think that we can all go and get the nice car and let's cut the crap. I mean, if I was $10 million, you are going to see me in a very nice car come tomorrow, right? Make no question about that. Porsche, I'm coming, baby.
You say a really nice car, then you say a Porsche.
yeah. I'm going shirt, shopping and car shopping. No.
No.
But that's tinsel for life, right? That's just the shiny things that make you dress things up with. Okay, your substance and what you're about is far more important to me.
So to me, so just to answer your question, because you did say, what would you do as a person?
Correct.
I don't think I would actually change, because most of my money that I get already, I give away in one form or another. Because the way I see it, if I invest that money, that 9.9 million or whatever it is, the money that those investments will earn will enable me to be able to do things like fund Edge Radio, do political campaigning. If something comes up, some sort of charity, I can actually do it. If a friend of mine goes, hey, we've just lost our house, we need help, that means I'd have the money to go just buy a house and put them into a house, sort of thing. So to me, I don't think my personality would change. About the only things, like I said, is I wouldn't suffer arseholes anymore.
Okay.
Because I'd be able to afford lawyers if they did try to sue me. So if someone annoys me, I just seriously tell them, no, there's the door. Get nicked in a much different wording. And also I'd be able to do a lot more of the projects that I want to do.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing, but I don't think my personality itself will change.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, like I said, going through those two situations, well, three with the divorce, I think those three situations has galvanized my mindset to what needs to be done.
I think what you said earlier about, your life experience and how you got here, it defines whether you can do it or not, right? Because, look, I've actually funny enough, I've known two people who have won lotto.
I did. I won the lotto the day that I had my motorbike crash.
Oh.
So the one's like, I can't believe you survived that, but she saw the picture of the bike.
Yep.
So she went and got a lotto ticket, and then we won $23.
Woohoo! There you go. Time to retire, baby.
So you know, three people now.
Absolutely, exactly right. But where I'm going to go on this is now one. Absolutely just wasted it, had absolutely no idea what they were doing. But that person had come from what you were saying, that they'd never lost it all. They'd never had that kind of challenge. They'd never actually been properly broke, right? Okay.
How many sports stars go from college to multi-millionaires and end up alcoholics, drug addiction, massive depression, suicide, and all that sort of stuff? Because they're not prepared for the fame.
That's right.
So.
Yep. And what about yourself, mate? Do you think is there a part of your personality would fundamentally change?
I think it would. I think I'd become I got to watch myself. I can be quite commanding sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
really?
Yeah.
I never knew that, Derek.
I can put down the line and go, boom, I'm going to do this, and I've got to watch that and tame that. I know that for myself. But at the same time, I think there's been a lot of soul searching on over the last few years for me.
Sure.
That I think has prepared myself for that, and it's interesting how I remember. I'm going to talk really personally now. I remember one time where we were done. We were not just behind the 8 ball. We were behind the 8 ball. You know, if you can get that back.
I know what
we
you're
were
saying.
just starting again. We were way behind, and I'm in my 40s, and I'm going, what am I doing? What have I done? And for me, I was like, you got to get back to God and really go, what.
The basics, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the fame, the fortune. It doesn't really matter because time is so short.
Yep.
And I think that was a starting of the healing process for me, because I had been in survival mode in the corporate world. I'd gotten to a point where I had to harden just to survive, to stay afloat. Yep. And it really got to a point where you go, how on earth do you end up here? I got to that journey, and I think for me. I remember going through a period where you're going, this very question, are you prepared for the weight of the blessing God wants to pour out in your life? And you're going, how do you answer that?
How do you?
God, how do I know? You know me better than myself. And I think that's something we've really got to work on ourselves, is in terms of, am I a sweet person or a worse person? Because as we get older, I've heard this say, people who work in nursing homes and that sort of stuff say that the people are just either a sweeter version of who they were during their life or a nastier person who they were in their life. And I think it's a similar parallel with money.
I agree. I absolutely agree. This is strange advice, and this is not financial advice, but I think there's a lot of value in going broke, right? I think there's so much value as a human being in, having a divorce and all that yucky stuff that, or multiple in my particular case, and having to start again, because every time I've had to start again, I go, right, okay, I'm not starting from zero because I've now learnt all of that information, right? And each time, and now for me, I appreciate life and my achievements and
A Big Mac.
everything 10 times more because I've been on the bones of my butt, and I think that I've been very lucky because I've been financially successful in the past, right? Okay, and I've had and I've had the toys and I've had the lifestyle and all kind of carry on. Even had a little bit of fame, genuine Z grade celebrity, right? And that's all great. That's not a real life. And when you knock back to zero and you've got to go, all right, Aaron, I'm going back. I'm building. I'm rebuilding. Makes you far. It's better for your soul. It's better for your heart. It's better for who you are. And I think that ultimately, I think that if you throw $10 million at me right now, I would
Blow $1 million on Edge.
I would, in the first week alone. Exactly right. Edge would suddenly become huge.
We would own this building.
Absolutely, yeah. Good, okay, good point. You want to put the rent up? Fix this, right?
No, we'll just buy the building.
Exactly.
Well, the big danger with a lot of money is that you become lazy. Because it's convenience. You can do it. You can buy that.
You can just pay someone to do it.
Pay someone, get consultants.
Or we can get the AI to do it for us.
Get back to the AI.
Whereas when you don't have it, you have to be far more creative with it.
Yeah.
I worked for an organisation that didn't have an advertising budget, and I was became the promotions person there, and I thought, we're doing this terribly. So you had to become far more creative and resourceful.
Stop saying, I'm just here, mate. Don't say it in front of me.
So there's, I was watching I hate to say it, I think it was a TikTok that was recorded and put onto Facebook, and it was a guy complaining about poor people. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you don't have nothing because you're poor. You have nothing because you suck at being poor. And I'm thinking, what? Okay. And it's like, he went through it. It's like, if you want something when you're poor and you can't pay someone to do it for you, learn to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So the same as like with Gerald, we don't have the money to do the full renovations.
So you do it yourself, mate.
So for the people who follow me on Facebook, you'll probably see that these absolutely gorgeous floors, and I'm kicking myself. I didn't put them into Camillo. The German wine barrels have been turned into floorboards, and they're stunning. Anyway, so $15,000 worth of flooring. That's if I paid someone to do it. I did it myself. Mm-hmm. I borrowed my brother's tools, and the floorboards for 151 square meters was $400 secondhand.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying is a lot of poor people have nothing when they're poor. It's because they suck at being poor. Mm-hmm. If you want something and you can't afford it, learn how to do it yourself.
I'll give credit to you. Very interesting point on that. A guy I used to work with many years ago. He had a business called Ron DJ Entertainment, right? And anyway, he basically...
Random question. His name's Ron and he's a redhead, isn't he?
No. He bought the company. Okay. No, his name's Jason and he's a big Maori bloke. But where I'm going on this is the fact that he built that business from very, very small, built it up, okay, and he just did all the hard work himself. No advertising budget, all yada, 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 right? But even things like when, just fencing stuff up, he goes, oh, look, yeah, I needed that. They were going to cost X, Y, Z, so he goes, so I just learned how to sew. So I watched YouTube videos and I learned how to sew, and we made our own.
How do you think I learned how to do the flooring? I watched YouTube videos.
Yeah.
How did I put the cabinet systems in? I watched the IKEA YouTube channel.
Did you really?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
How did I learn how to put the bench tops in? I found someone who knew how. I asked them, and they said, "Oh, this is what you do. This is how you do it. This is the tools you need." And I followed their instructions.
And think of how much satisfaction you have because you did that. You did it with your own hands, mate.
Actually, that reminds me, I forgot to take the clamps off underneath the sink.
Then there's a flip side of that, where sometimes you have to get out of the DIY mode because you go, okay, my corporate hourly rate is, let's say it's $550 an hour, okay? Let's just say that's what the marketplace will pay you. Is it worth you mowing the lawn? It's going to take up an hour, 2 hours of your time to do it.
If you enjoy mowing the lawn or
when
not.
you could make $550 to $1,000, whatever. $1,100
that is knowing
an hour.
Spot on. That is knowing the value of your time and your exchange for your labour, and also that goes we're not even talking about large amounts. That's also sometimes about some things you are no good at. I am lousy at paperwork, so it's best that I allow other people to do my bookwork, for argument's sake, because you wouldn't want me to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Not that I'm not good with numbers. I'm actually very good with numbers. But, it's not, there are people who are better at it, and I am better serving using my skills in the place that they're
I'm going to counter that one because I'm not a good mechanic. I suck at it, but I enjoy tinkering. I enjoy fiddling with it. So playing with the Hilux. So my next job is either changing the injector pump or the fuel pump, depending which is dead. I'm hoping it's neither. It's just the diesel float, but that will change that one first, and we'll move on.
It's the injector pump.
I don't think so. I think we've got air in the fuel lines and it's coming out of the bottom of the fuel filter. So anyway, moving on. So the injectors are still squirting, so I don't think it's an injector pump. So the point is,
We'll talk off here.
Glad we clarified
I'm not a good mechanic.
No.
Okay, but the running hourly rate, so called for a candidate, is $200 an hour. So using that assumption, me piss-faying around with the Hilux for a couple of hours is equivalent of $400. So, but I enjoy doing it.
Yep.
So that's a bit of my downtime. So again, going back to mowing the grass, you could be someone who loves the grass because it's a chance to get away from the computer, get out of the office, you know, doing the arrow fertilizer, weed and feed, getting your absolutely single grass organisms into the things. So I can't remember the exact terminology for it. It's just so you've only got one type of grass in your grass. Okay. So you'll have a summer crop and a winter crop, and then you mow it in certain directions and you get the beautiful, like the cricket pitch lines.
I'm just happy if it's green. I don't care.
Oh, God, I love it. I love my grass, and I'm gutted that I've had to put it on this. It's full of weeds at the moment because I can't. I've got this gorgeous Honda. It's like a 1940s drum mower.
Oh, nice.
And it's sitting out in the rain because it doesn't fit in my shed anymore because I've had to move everything out for storage.
Yep.
And I can't use it on my grass because it's full of weeds.
That's sad.
And it is so sad.
It's very sad.
Go look up.
So you don't think you would change? Getting back to the original question, Travis, you don't think you would change if you had millions?
You'd end up Forrest Gump doing your mowing. Okay, you've got your shares in the fruit company, right? Yeah. You got the shrimp company as well, and you have got the best lord in town. I love it.
I think it would enhance my current personality. I'm already sarcastic enough. Like the filter would just not exist because because if I do get sued, I've got the lawyers to back me up.
Okay, and with that, I think we should end the show. Thank you, Clive, for coming in today. Appreciate that. Derek, great as always, mate. And look, I really appreciate the fact that this show is a great opportunity because we talk about such varied things, right? And we talk about the way the politics and finance crosses over. But let's be honest.
We talk about random things? Isn't that just me?
Yeah, we talk about the social interaction of those other components. So with that, I really appreciate that. To everyone out there, have a wonderful week. If you're catching the show on Sunday, really appreciate that. For the replay on Sunday at 5. There's just
so you actually checked the time this time?
No, I'm going by memory. It's Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth.